You ever wonder why they stare at you the way they do? Like you're some unfinished puzzle they can't solve. It's not because you're broken. No, that's too easy. It's because you're whole and they can't stand it. See, people like them, the ones who whisper behind your back, who smirk at your silence, they thrive on one thing: control. And you're the one thing they can't control. That terrifies them. They want you to feel small, to crawl back to them for validation, to beg them for scraps of approval like a starving dog. But you don't, do you? And that's what burns them. Because deep down, they know they'll never be as free as you are. Freedom isn't given, it's earned. And you've earned yours. You want to know the truth about people? They don't hate you for your flaws. They hate you for your strength. They hate that you can wake up, face the mirror, and say, I'm enough. You ever think about why they try to tear you down every time you stand tall? It's not because they think you're weak. It's because they see how strong you can be, and it scares the hell out of them. People like to preach about love, don't they? Oh, they'll tell you love is patient. Love is kind. But here's the part they leave out. Love is selfish. The moment you stop needing them to feel whole, they'll stop pretending to care. That's when the mask slips and you see them for who they really are. Leeches, parasites, feeding off your self-doubt. Because if you're whole on your own, what use do you have for them? They hate you because you've done the one thing they can't. You've learned to live with yourself. They can't go 5 minutes alone in their own heads without drowning in their insecurities. But you've walked through your pain. You've sat in the silence of your own mind and made peace with the chaos. That's a power they'll never have. Let me tell you a little secret. The world doesn't reward strength. It rewards submission. It wants you to fit into its little boxes, to play by its rules, to conform. And if you refuse, oh, they'll come for you. Not with knives or guns. No, they're smarter than that. They'll use words, whispered doubts, little digs that burrow into your brain like parasites. You're not good enough. You're too much. Who do you think you are? But here's the kicker. They're not talking to you. They're talking to themselves. Every insult they throw at you is just a reflection of their own insecurities, their own fears. They hate you because you remind them of everything they're too afraid to be. You're the mirror they don't want to look into. You ever notice how people only clap for you when you're on your knees? When you're broken, they'll line up to help. They'll pat your back, say all the right things, act like they care. But the moment you start to rise, the moment you find your footing and stand tall, that's when they vanish. Or worse, that's when they turn on you. You see, people love a victim. They can feel superior to a victim. But a survivor, a fighter, that's a threat. Survivors don't need their pity. Fighters don't need their approval. And nothing pisses them off more than knowing you don't need them to survive. They hate that you've stopped looking for a savior, that you've stopped waiting for someone to rescue you, because deep down, they know they're not saviors. They're anchors, dead weight, dragging you down while pretending to lift you up. You know what the real joke is? They'll call you selfish for walking away, for choosing yourself. But where were they when you were drowning? When the walls were closing in and you couldn't breathe? Oh, they were there, watching, smiling, hoping you'd sink just low enough to need them. But you didn't sink, did you? No, you swam. You clawed your way out of the darkness, inch by bloody inch. And now that you're standing on solid ground, they want to pull you back under. Why? Because your survival makes them feel weak. Your strength reminds them of their own cowardice. Let me tell you something, kid. You don't owe them a damn thing. Not your time, not your energy, not your peace. The only person you owe anything to is yourself. And you owe yourself everything. Every step you've taken, every scar you've earned, it's yours. Own it. Wear it like armor, because that's what it is. And when they come at you, because they will, don't flinch. Don't apologize for being whole. Don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. Let them choke on their own envy. Let them drown in their own insecurities. Because at the end of the day, they're not mad at you. They're mad at themselves for not being brave enough to do what you've done. They hate that you don't need them to feel complete. But that's their problem, not yours. So keep standing, keep fighting, and most importantly, keep being you. Because that's the one thing they can never take away. Remember this, you are whole, you are enough. And they'll never be able to take that from you. So let them hate, let them whisper, let them try. Because at the end of the day, you're untouchable, and they know it. You know, I used to think the world was just broken, that people were just products of their pain, lashing out because they didn't know any better. But I was wrong. They know exactly what they're doing. See, most people, they're not victims of their circumstances. They're architects of their own misery. And the worst part? They want you to build it with them. They hate seeing someone like you, a builder, someone who can take rubble and turn it into a fortress. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to crumble like them. You're supposed to fall apart so they can feel better about their own ruins. But you didn't, did you? No. You stood in the middle of the wreckage and said, "Not today," and they hate you for it. They'll call you arrogant. They'll say you think you're better than them. But here's the truth. You are. Not because you're perfect, not because you have all the answers, but because You had the courage to face yourself, to stand in front of the mirror and say, I am who I am, and I'm okay with that. You know how rare that is? Most people can't even look at themselves without flinching. They cover their mirrors, drown their thoughts in noise, surround themselves with distractions, anything to avoid the truth staring back at them. But you faced it. You stared into the abyss, and you didn't blink. They hate that you've stopped chasing them, that you've stopped running after their approval, their validation, because if you're not chasing them, who's left to make them feel important? Who's left to prop up their fragile little egos? You were never supposed to outgrow them. You were supposed to stay small, stay needy. But you didn't. And now they don't know what to do with you. They'll say you've changed, that you're cold, distant, unrecognizable. But don't let their words fool you. It's not you who's changed. It's their perception of you. You see, they only liked you when you were beneath them, when you needed them. Now that you don't, now that you've risen above their petty games, they can't stand the sight of you. You ever hear the saying, misery loves company? Well, let me tell you something, that's a lie. Misery doesn't just love company, it demands it. It drags everyone down to its level like quicksand pulling you under. And the moment you stop sinking, the moment you find a way out, it turns on you. Because your freedom is a threat to their captivity. They'll do anything to pull you back down. Lies, manipulation, guilt. Oh, they're masters of guilt, aren't they? How could you leave? After everything we did for you, they'll paint themselves as martyrs, as saints. But don't fall for it. Saints don't need to remind you of their sacrifices, and martyrs don't chain you to their cross. You don't owe them your loyalty, not to the ones who tried to break you, not to the ones who smiled while you suffered. Loyalty isn't a blind chain, it's a bond, earned through trust and respect. And tell me, where was their loyalty when you needed it? Where were they when the world was tearing you apart? Let me tell you where they were. They were watching, waiting, hoping you'd fall just low enough to need them. And when you didn't, when you clawed your way out on your own, they turned on you. Because that's what cowards do. They don't celebrate your strength. They fear it. And instead of rising to meet you, they'd rather drag you back down to their level. They hate you because you're not afraid to be alone, to walk away, to stand on your own 2 feet and say, I don't need you. That kind of independence, it's like poison to people like them. It reminds them of everything they'll never be. But don't let their hate confuse you. Their anger isn't power, it's weakness. It's fear, dressed up as fury. They're not mad at you, they're mad at themselves. Mad that they'll never have the courage to do what you've done. Mad that no matter how much they try to control you, they'll never own you. So let them hate. Let them whisper. Let them plot. Let them throw their little tantrums. Because at the end of the day, their hate is a compliment. It means you've done something they can't. It means you've risen above their noise, their games, their traps. And that makes you untouchable. But don't mistake their hate for power. Hate is nothing without action. And all they'll ever do is talk, whisper behind closed doors, stare with jealous eyes. They'll never have the courage to face you, to confront you, because deep down they know they've already lost. Remember this: the strongest people aren't the ones who stand with a crowd. They're the ones who stand alone. And you've done what they can't. You've built yourself up. You've faced your demons, your fears, your pain. And now you're untouchable, unbreakable. So let them hate, let them talk, let them try. Because at the end of the day, you don't need them. And that's the thing they'll never forgive. You know what they'll say next, don't you? You've changed. Oh, they love that one. They'll look you dead in the eye and try to guilt you with it. You're not the same person anymore. But let me tell you something. They don't mean that as a compliment. No. What they're really saying is, you've stopped playing by my rules. You've stopped letting me define who you are. And that drives them insane. You see, they want you to stay predictable, manageable. Because the moment you change, the moment you grow, they lose their power over you. And you're proof that their little boxes, the ones they've spent their whole lives trying to fit into, are nothing more than cages. You're the crack in their perfect little mirror, the reminder that freedom exists outside their walls, and they can't handle that. Because if you're free, then what does that make them? Prisoners of their own fear, their own insecurities, their own weakness. They'll try to paint you as the villain. Oh, they'll twist the story so that you're the one who left them behind. Ungrateful, they'll call you. Selfish. But don't you dare let that lie sink into your skin. You're not the villain. They are. And not because they're evil, no. Evil requires courage. It takes a certain boldness to wear your darkness on your sleeve. But them, they're cowards. Too afraid to face their own reflection. Too weak to admit that they're the problem. So instead, they project it all onto you. Every insecurity, every failure, every ounce of pain they can't bear to carry, they'll try to make it your burden. Why? because it's easier to blame you than to fix themselves. It's easier to hate you than to admit they're the ones who need to change. You know what's funny? They'll spend their whole lives pretending to be the hero, the selfless friend, the supportive partner. But the moment you outgrow their little script, the mask comes off. And what's underneath? Just another scared little kid, desperate for attention, desperate for control. They hate you because you've stopped playing your part. You've stopped feeding their ego, stopped giving them what they need to feel important. And now they don't know who they are without you. That's the real reason they lash out. Not because they hate you, but because they hate themselves without you. Let me tell you something about people. Most of them, they don't want to grow. They don't want to heal. They just want to feel better about staying the same. And you're a constant reminder that change is possible, that growth is possible. And that scares them more than anything else in the world. Because if you can change, then what excuse do they have? What excuse do they have for staying stuck, for clinging to their pain, for living their lives as shadows of what they could be? You're not just a threat to their comfort. You're a threat to their entire identity. And that's why they'll come after you. Not with fists, no. That would be too obvious, too easy. They'll come at you with words, manipulation, guilt. They'll play the victim, make you the bad guy, twist the truth until you don't even recognize yourself. But here's the thing. You don't owe them an explanation. Not for your growth, not for your strength, not for your freedom. Let them say whatever they want. Let them twist the story, rewrite the script, paint you as the villain. Because at the end of the day, their words mean nothing. Their opinions mean nothing. You don't live for them. You don't exist to make them comfortable. You exist for one reason and one reason only: to become the best damn version of yourself. And if that makes them uncomfortable, if that makes them hate you, good. Let them choke on it. Let their bitterness eat them alive. Because you're untouchable. You've walked through hell and you've come out stronger. You've faced your demons, stared them down and said, "Not today." And now you're free. But freedom, it comes with a price. Oh, they don't tell you that part, do they? Freedom isn't about running away. It's about standing your ground. It's about saying, I don't care what you think of me. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if I lose you. Because I refuse to lose myself. That's the price of freedom. And it's worth every damn penny. So let them hate you. Let them talk. Let them try to bring you down. Because at the end of the day, their hate is just proof that you're doing something right. They hate you because you're everything they'll never be. And that's their problem, not yours. You are whole. You are enough. And no matter what they say, no matter what they do, they'll never be able to take that away from you. You know what they'll never tell you? That deep down, they're afraid of you. Oh, they won't admit it. No, no, no. They'll dress it up as anger, disguise it as disappointment. But underneath all that noise, it's fear. Pure, unfiltered fear. Because people like them, they build their entire existence on the illusion of power. And you shattered it the moment you stopped caring about their opinions. Think about it. Their approval, their validation, their acceptance. It's all they have. It's their currency, their lifeline, their drug of choice. And when you stop needing it, when you stop feeding their addiction, you don't just take away their power, you expose the truth that without you, they're nothing. You ever notice how they cling to the past? How they love to bring up the old you? You used to be so much nicer. You used to listen more. You used to care. That's their favorite game, dragging you back to who you were. Why? Because the old you was easier to control. The old you was compliant, obedient, desperate for approval. But the new you? Oh, the new you terrifies them. The new you doesn't ask for permission. The new you doesn't play by their rules. And that's unacceptable. Because in their world, strength isn't allowed unless it serves them. Independence isn't allowed unless it benefits them. You know what's ironic? They'll call you selfish for choosing yourself. But what's more selfish than expecting someone else to live their life for you? What's more selfish than demanding someone shrink themselves, dim their light, break their spirit, just so you can feel better about your own shortcomings? That's the real joke, isn't it? They'll scream about loyalty, about love, about sacrifice. But it's never really about you. It's about them, their needs, their insecurities, their fragile little egos. And the moment you stop feeding those egos, the moment you say, enough is enough, they'll turn on you. Let them turn. Let them twist the knife. Let them try to drag your name through the mud. Because at the end of the day, their words are just noise. Empty, hollow, powerless. You know why? Because you've taken away their only weapon, your need for their approval. And without that, they're nothing. Their insults, their lies, their manipulations, they bounce off you like rubber bullets. Because you've built something they can't touch. Something they'll never understand. You've built yourself. They'll never admit it, but they envy you. They'll cover it up with anger, with bitterness, with venomous words. But make no mistake, what they feel isn't hatred, it's jealousy. They envy your courage, your strength, your ability to stand alone in a world that demands conformity. You're everything they wish they could be, but are too afraid to become. And that's why they'll try to tear you down. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong, stronger than them, stronger than their words, their doubts, their manipulations. You know what makes you dangerous? It's not your strength. It's not your resilience. It's the fact that you don't need them. You don't need their approval, their validation, their fake love. That's what they can't stand. That's what keeps them up at night. Because in a world that runs on dependency, you're a glitch in the system, a reminder that freedom exists, that happiness doesn't come from others, it comes from within. And that's something they'll never forgive. So let them hate you. Let them throw their stones, spread their lies, twist the story. Let them try. Because at the end of the day, their hate is just proof of your strength. Their bitterness is just a reflection of their own weakness. And you? You're untouchable. You've walked through fire. You've faced your demons. You've built yourself from the ashes of everything they tried to destroy. And now you're unstoppable. Remember this, you don't need them. You never did. And that's what they'll never be able to accept. So keep walking, keep growing, keep becoming. Because the more you rise, the smaller they'll seem. And one day, they'll look back and realize that the thing they hated most about you, the thing they tried so hard to destroy, was the very thing they needed to find in themselves. They hate that you don't need them to feel complete. But that's not your problem. That's theirs. They'll try to bury you in guilt. You know, that's their favorite weapon. They'll say you're heartless, that you've forgotten where you came from, that you're not the same person anymore. Oh, they'll pull out every dirty trick in the book to make you doubt yourself. Because that's the only way they can control you, through doubt, through guilt, through the idea that you owe them something. But let me tell you a little secret. You don't owe them a damn thing. Not your time, not your energy, not your peace of mind. They didn't walk through the fire with you. They didn't bleed with you, cry with you, break with you. No. They watched from the sidelines, comfortable in their mediocrity, while you clawed your way out of the abyss. And now that you've made it, now that you've built yourself into something they can't ignore, they want a piece of it. They want a piece of you. But here's the thing, they don't want the real you. Oh no. They don't want the version of you that's strong, confident, unbreakable. They want the version of you that they can control. The version of you that bends to their will, that seeks their approval, that begs for their love. And when they realize they can't have that, that's when they'll turn on you. That's when they'll try to tear you down, brick by brick, until there's nothing left. But you won't let them, because you've built something they'll never understand. Self-respect. And that's the one thing they can't take from you. They'll say you're too much, that you're difficult, selfish, cold. They'll throw every label they can think of, hoping one of them will stick. But what they're really saying is, you're no longer easy to manipulate. And that terrifies them. Because people like them, they thrive on control. They live for it. They need to feel like they have power over you, like they can pull your strings and make you dance. But you've cut those strings. You've walked away from their games, their lies, their toxic little world. And now they're lost. You ever notice how quiet they get when you stop chasing them? How all that noise, all those insults and criticisms suddenly go silent the moment you walk away. That's not because they've given up. It's because they don't know what to do without you. You were their lifeline, their mirror, their scapegoat. Without you, they have to face themselves. And that's their worst nightmare. Because the truth is, they're not angry at you, they're angry at themselves. Angry that they'll never have the courage to do what you've done. Angry that they'll never be free. Freedom scares people. Oh, they'll tell you they want it. They'll scream about independence, about breaking free, about living their truth. But the moment they're faced with the reality of it, the moment they realize freedom means taking responsibility for their own lives, that's when they run. Because freedom isn't easy. It's not pretty. It's not wrapped up in a neat little bow, waiting for you to unwrap it. No. Freedom is ugly. It's brutal. It's messy. It's standing in the ruins of your old life and saying, I'll build something better. And you've done that. You've stood in the wreckage, surrounded by the ashes of everything they tried to destroy. And you've built something they can't touch, something they can't take, something that's yours. Let them hate you. Let them whisper. Let them plot. Let them throw their little stones. Because at the end of the day, their hate is just proof of your strength. Their bitterness is a reflection of their own weakness. And you're untouchable. You've walked through hell, faced your demons, and come out stronger. You've stood alone in the darkness, unbroken, unafraid, and now you're free. But freedom, it comes with a cost. Oh, they don't tell you that part, do they? Freedom means losing people. It means walking away from the ones who can't handle your growth, your strength, your independence. It means standing alone, even when it hurts. But you know what's worse than standing alone? Standing with people who make you feel small. People who dim your light, who clip your wings, who try to chain you to their misery. So let them go. Let them hate you. Let them call you selfish, cold, heartless. Because at the end of the day, their opinion doesn't matter. Their words don't matter. You don't live for them. You don't exist to make them comfortable. You exist for one reason and one reason only to become the best damn version of yourself. They hate that you don't need them to feel complete, but that's not your problem. That's theirs.